Welcome back to Transportation. Today we're going to be reviewing a 2023 Mercedes C300 4MATIC with this lovely AMG night package on it. It's one of Mercedes' best-selling sports sedans, and it's a great package for the money. But let's figure out if it's going to be your next compact German sports sedan. Beginning with the exterior. This is finished in a lovely polar white exterior. I really like these hood bulges right here. It makes it feel extremely high-end. I also really like this little line that tapers down the bottom here. You can't see it too well in the sun here, but I really like that element. You got the little Mercedes-Benz here, and you got the big one here, which is combined with that cruise control sensor. Of course, we have that front camera because we have that surround camera going on. I really like the full LED headlights and turn signals. Love the big profile with those combined with that daytime running light. I like how they have the Panamericana inspired grille with the little 3-point stars scattered throughout the entire grille with this lovely little stripe here that just tapers toward there. And one of my favorite parts about this bumper is how everything just kind of flows really nice. I love how this part just kind of flows back into itself with this little bit on the grille at the bottom. There's also this weird little textured element, which is kind of interesting. You know, let me know what you think about that. But of course, we got more sensors here for that radar system. Working our way down to the side of the car, we have more sensors. We got these lovely 19-inch AMG style wheels. I love the way the machined face looks on those. And then of course, working our way down, we have this line which tapers and works our way down, and then it kind of finishes off. It fades away toward the back. I also really like how there's like this curve here. I like the curves on this car. It's very curvy because we have another line that starts kind of down here, and then it becomes defined here, and it fades away toward the back. And I also really like this curved side skirt for a nice flow with the whole design. So as far as soft design, this car definitely does it best. And of course, you have your blacked out mirrors and turn signals as part of that AMG night package. We also have the nice black window trim, which I really like. I'm personally a sucker for white on black here. We got that full panoramic sunroof. Although what is interesting is that they have a little bit of body color right here. Kind of a nice little element to kind of mix it up a bit. And then working our way toward the back of the vehicle, I really like these like half red, half amber taillights on the back for the turn signals. I really like the curve of these taillights. Definitely the best looking in its class. You have your C300 badge here, and then of course, it's a very minimalist back end, and I really like it. It's definitely the best angle. It's definitely reminiscent of the new A-Class. Down here, we have some fake exhausts here, and we got kind of like a diffuser effect here. The actual exhaust is actually gonna be down here. And of course, you got that power tailgate, which is really nice, and you can just press the button here to close it. That's definitely unique at this price point. And of course, you have your 4MATIC badge because, of course, this is gonna have that all-wheel drive for you. But that's it for this lovely, lovely, well-done exterior. Let's go ahead and check out the inside of the C-Class and see what it has to offer. The interior of the new Mercedes C-Class is definitely one of the best in class, no pun intended. I really like all of these soft touch materials on the dash. These definitely feel the nicest of any compact German sedan. They have a lot of feel to it. It's very plush. I mean, that's the general theme of this interior. Everything feels extremely plush. You have your door unlock buttons right here. The seat adjustment's gonna be up here on the door as per usual Mercedes, but what's different is it's kind of like a touch sensitive control. So the buttons don't really move, but they kind of move. It's a weird feeling and definitely takes some getting used to here. Of course, here you have your mirror adjustments, but what's interesting about the mirror adjustments is it's kind of like this touch sensitive panel, and it's definitely a little strange to get used to. Like, I just power folded the mirror because my finger went slightly in a different direction. So that is bound to happen in a car like this. The one annoying thing about that is you do kind of have to look at the controls in order to use them, which definitely appears to be a recurring theme in this vehicle. I also like your one-touch up and down switches, and we even have lockable rear windows as well. I really like these air vents. These are fantastic. You turn them right to close them, turn them left to open, and they're extremely flexible, and they're very easy to put where you want them to go, which I think is fantastic. I really like these headlight controls down here as well. They're very slick and very smooth. You have your electromechanical parking brake over here, kind of in the way that used to have the foot brake on the older cars. Of course, you have your 3 memory seat settings as well, which is really nice, and you even got your 3 stages of heated seats. I like how the heated seats are also here in addition to being in the screen. Looking at the steering wheel, this is a fantastic part of the car. I really like how this is power, tilt, and telescope, which is super nice. I like the dampened turn signals. You got your 3 different wiper stages, which is nice. Your gear shift over here on the right. And then I also really like these paddle shifters. Extremely easy to use. Here we have the steering wheel controls for the digital gauge cluster. Normally the iPad look feels kind of cheap, but I really like the way Mercedes have done it in this interior. It looks fantastic. The left ones control this screen and the right ones control this screen. But they are touch sensitive. It definitely takes some getting used to, but they're very fluid and very responsive. They even give you little notches so you can put your finger where you want it to be. If you hit the home button, you can actually scroll through like a bit of a menu to kind of show the different modes for the gauge cluster. We have understated, we have sport, we have classic, we have assistance, and we have service. So there's all the options there. And then at all times, it actually shows you your clock down here. It shows you the parking brake is on, shows you the gear, miles to empty, and even your temperature. There's even a little digital speedometer up there, which I really appreciate. I think it looks great. Cruise control settings and your radar guided cruise control is going to be down here. Your basic infotainment controls are going to exist up here, and that'll control most elements of the screen here. So you can go to phone, radio, media. This definitely has the best in class as far as being able to control the screen goes, and I really appreciate that. The one thing that's annoying is you can't use it to navigate to the climate controls. Over here we have your various phone settings. This you can adjust your volume by sliding it up and down. It's definitely better done than the way Volkswagen did their touch controls. Looking over to the screen, this is definitely going to be the most controversial area of this new C-Class, but here we have our climate controls here. I like how the climate controls are always displayed. However, if you want to jump from low to high, you have to press it. Like, you just have to keep pressing it and keep pressing it. And we're almost there. And now you're at high. It is really annoying. Like, if you want to, like, if it's really cold in the morning, you want to jump and blow that AC, you just have to keep spamming the button. That's about all you can do. Press this button and it'll show even more climate settings, such as where you want the air to be directed. For example, if I want it only up here, I can press it over here. It is a little annoying, once again, how you have to basically look at the screen to do anything on here, but I like how the controls are always active. The fan speed can adjust from 1 to 7, and that's relatively easy to adjust. Your max defroster there, and even your rear defroster there as well. You got your recirc, your automatic climate control if you want, so it can automatically adjust that fan speed for you. This infotainment system is actually really easy to use. You got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You got your Bluetooth, got your various media sources. You can also do USB if you want to. You can pair up your phone, and there are even different apps, such as Mercedes Me, your browser, your gallery, and you can even look at the license info, which is kind of cool. Click on comfort, and we can adjust the ambient light. There are 64 different ambient lighting colors, and of course my favorite color is blue, so we're gonna set it to blue. And that ambient light, you can't see it all too well in the daylight, but it kind of shows up behind here, and it even shows up inside of the air vents, which I think is just so cool. But let's put it on that more blue setting. I think that is just really cool. You can't really see it too well from here, but I'll show you guys another angle of that. And then of course you can even set it so it's multicolor. You can also change the brightness as well with your link zones, and there's even different effects. Like you can have warnings, like you can have like, it can flash red when you're exiting the vehicle, or you can adjust it with the climate control, and you can even have multicolor animation. So Mercedes have really done a really good job with the ambient lighting in this car. We have the Mercedes seat kinetics and automatic seat positioning. So for example, you can actually set it so depending on your height, the car will actually adjust all of the settings to make you as comfortable as possible by using its own recommendations. You hit the home button, you can go back here, and I really like this info screen as well. You can look at your consumption, you can look at your vehicle, and you can even look at the engine. I like this screen the best because it shows you your boost pressure, it shows you your pound-feet of torque, and your horsepower. Of course, this vehicle has the 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque from that 4-cylinder engine. Overall, a really nice system to use. Down here, we have your various driving modes here. We have Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and we even have an awesome individual mode. If you hit that little gear, you can actually adjust all the different settings as well. I can have my drive and comfort and my steering in sport, which you guys know I like my steering in sport mode. And you can even have your ESP or electronic stability program in comfort or sport as well, which is really cool. And you can even have it to request it at start. So overall, this is a very configurable vehicle. It's like your smartphone as far as configurability goes. I also really like how there's a back and next button right on the screen. I think that that's really, really nice as well. Another really nice feature of this car is the 360-degree camera, which allows you to get a full 360-degree view of your car and exactly where it is parked. So that way you can keep track of your surroundings. There's even a few little shortcuts here as well to see how close you are to something. Those cameras are definitely going to come in handy in this vehicle. There's even a fingerprint sensor here too, which is very interesting. Definitely unique for the class. But overall, this screen is really, really cool how it just kind of flows seamlessly into the center console. I think that that's a great design. Down here, we have a little place for you to put your key fob. We also have a USB Type-C port so you can connect your phone for that CarPlay. We have a wireless charging socket, not really big enough for a modern smartphone, but it is big enough if you have a smaller phone. Over here, we have some cup holders. If you press these buttons out, it actually ejects the cup holders if you have a smaller cup, which is really nice. And they even have little folds on them. So basically, it'll work with any size cup, which I appreciate. In the front here, I really like this little trim over here. It's not the high gloss, so it's not gonna scratch very easily, but I really like the look of this. It's got a cool little pattern to it, and depending on the model you get, you can actually get different patterns. And of course, we have a fully lockable glove box, which is so big that it even has a shelf for your user's manual. And again, it's lockable, which is also fantastic. I also really like how that trim works its way down here, because on some trim levels, you actually have this like glossy like material, which is present on this little door here. But I like how they kept this matte. So it means it's not gonna scratch and it's not gonna show fingerprints nearly as easily. I really like how the cup holder area has this nice glide. So if you don't have any drinks with you, or if you want to hide some stuff in here, this is a great way to do so. Over here we have the smooth gliding console. We have 2 more USB-C ports, and we have this lovely felt-lined center console, which I also really appreciate there as well. Looking at the seat comfort, the seats are extremely comfortable. They have big bolsters, and you can put your tricep on it and put your hands right at 9 and 3 to get that ideal driving feel. I think that that's absolutely fantastic. I really like how the steering wheel has that split 3-spoke design. It looks kind of like a classic Mercedes, and I appreciate that as well. We also have large door pockets down here as well. I really like how they put rubber lining over here as well. I like how there's a big enough space to put a decent sized water bottle. I think they did a great job with that. I like how the window switch armrest area is kind of floating. That's really the theme of the interior of this car, is floating. Up here, we have your sun visors with kind of like a warm LED light, and they are extendable, and these are the smoothest sun visors I've ever seen. We have your telematic controls up here for Mercedes Me. We have dome lights over here as well. They're very small, and they're that touch sensitive, kind of like in the A4 that we checked out a while ago. Here you have your lovely, lovely mirror. Over here, we have your panoramic sunroof controls. If you just slide it with a touch, it'll just glide open, and we can let all of that sunlight from that split panoramic sunroof into our C-Class. And we'll leave that open as we check out the back seat of the C-Class. The back seat of the C-Class uses the same high quality finishes that the front does. Immediately, I really like these unique airplane style pockets here. I think those are kind of cool. Definitely a unique thing in this class. Over here we have some nice soft touch panels We have nice big grab handles, and you even have your hidden reading light. This one isn't touch, but rather it's a regular button, which I really appreciate. We have a lot of legroom with the seat in my default driving position, and I have a decent amount of headroom here as well. We got those one-touch down and up windows. I got a large bottle pocket. I don't have the same rubber lining at the bottom, but honestly, that's not a big deal at this price point. We have your speaker right there. We have a lot of space down here in the footwell, which I really appreciate. And we even have the ambient lighting trickling its way down here. The seats have good support to them. I really like the big bolstering on the sides. Overall, this is a car that I feel like I could be extremely comfortable in a long drive. Definitely the largest in its class for sure. Like, this has a lot more room than something like an A4 or a 3 Series does. Looking over here, we have a center armrest. You might notice that there's not any cup holders, just this weird little tray thing. I'm guessing it's big enough for you to put your phone. These are kind of rubberized, so you can put a phone in there, but that's about all you can do with those. There's no cup holders back here. If you want cup holders, you might have to go with something like an A4. But taking a look at that middle seat comfort, this is actually pretty good for the size. We have a giant transmission tunnel, but with my feet in the footwells, again, the footwells are large. So I feel like I could be in the back seat of this for maybe no longer than like an hour drive. I still have a decent amount of headroom, and my passengers still have a decent amount of space over there as well. You also have your own air vents back here. We have a little shelf. There is no power grommets back here, so you do have to use the ones from the center console, but seeing as they are literally right here, if you leave this one down for the driver and you leave this one open, it's really not a big deal if you want to charge your phone. I think that's actually a pretty smart cost-cutting feature there. The headrests feel really nice. They are fully adjustable. And yeah, everything feels extremely plush back here. It is definitely going to be very easy to get comfortable. You don't have all the amenities that the competitors have, but you definitely have the space that they don't. And there's also a middle seat pass-through to the rear trunk area. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now it's time to take a look for real at the trunk area of the car. First of all, you'll notice that there is a very, very wide opening. I believe this is the widest in its class, and it's also got a lot of space inside of here as well. There's even these nice little levers to fold the seats, and unlike other vehicles in this class, these actually fold the seat all the way down. And we even have some nice little cargo nets here, which I really appreciate. We got some little tethering points scattered around the place, and there is even a spare floor. However, there is no spare wheel. You just get a little bit of a sealant kit, and that is because we have the 48-volt mild hybrid system in this C-Class. You got a little lock button here, and once again, we have that power trunk, which I also really appreciate as well, especially easy when you're in a hurry and you just got to get those groceries in there. So let's go ahead and check out the hood of this Mercedes C300. Under the hood of the 2023 Mercedes C300, you'll find a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder making 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. This is, of course, mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission for those super smooth shifts, and this thing also does great on gas mileage as well, averaging at approximately 29 miles to the gallon. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and take this C300 for a drive. To start the 2023 Mercedes C300, just put your foot on the brake, make sure the key is inside the vehicle, and hit the engine start stop button to go. Driving the 2023 Mercedes C300 4MATIC. Right off the bat, the steering feels pretty good. I also really like how this has a floor-mounted pedal, which is something that the A4 doesn't, but the 3 Series does. Turn signals have a nice feel to them. I really like having all the adjustable elements right up here. Let's floor it. Again, I love having that feeling of the floor-mounted pedal. And right up to 50, no problem. This thing's gonna do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, and it feels like it's gonna do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. It's fantastic. I love how the panoramic sunroof lets all that light into the vehicle. That's a pretty exclusive element for this class, and it's really great here as well. The steering has a pretty precise feel. It's kind of somewhere between heavyweight and numb. So I can move it a little bit, but the steering is relatively quick. If If you go in here, you can actually change your driving mode, and so now I can have it so my steering is in sport the way I like it. Having the climate controls down here, it's a little interesting to use, but I like how it's in a place where I can rest my arm and do it. So it's actually relatively easy to use while I am driving. Definitely better than you would expect in a car at this price point, especially with the touchscreen climate controls. This car is extremely quiet, it's extremely smooth, and as we get a bit of rain here, we can use our left side wiper adjustment here as well. These are rain sensing wipers, which is pretty nice. We also have paddle shifters if you want to do your manual shifting, but overall, it's a very great feeling interior, and the seat feels even more comfortable when you're out on the road. The air vents are extremely easy to adjust right from here, which is absolutely fantastic. As we get to our 35 mile an hour zone here, we can test the brakes too. The brakes feel pretty good as we get down to that 35 mile an hour speed limit. I also really like how there's little red ticks for where the 5 mile an hour increments are. I think that that's a really nice element. As we get ready to hop on the freeway here, we can really test out that acceleration and the handling. Let's go ahead and do a tight turn here. Feels pretty good. And we can floor it as we get up to the 75 mile an hour posted speed limit. Overall, feels pretty good, and it handles nice here, which is especially great in this situation if you need to jump into the left lane as they are doing road work in the right lane. The armrest is also in the perfect spot for you to rest your arm, which I also really appreciate. It means it's easy to grip the steering wheel, and you have a great view out here as well. I like how that hood bulge is completely visible from here as well. We also have our radar guided cruise control, which might be good in a scenario like this where you might be following a vehicle and you might be kind of in a stop and go traffic situation. But overall, this car accelerates great. You're gonna have no problem getting up to the speed limit here as well. I can't even imagine what the AMG version of this is gonna be like with that hybrid system. Speaking of which, this vehicle actually has the 48 volt mild hybrid system, which can actually assist the vehicle in needs such as if you're coasting downhill, which we're not in this case, or it can facilitate that engine start-stop better at red lights. We also have a little button here. You can deactivate your auto start-stop if you don't want to do that. The 3 Series, you actually can't do that on, so that is an advantage of this car. But honestly, in my opinion, the touchscreen climate controls are not as bad as I thought they would be in this vehicle. They're actually much easier to use than in the new 3 Series, and the screen is really easy to use as well. It's right off to your side here. You can hook up your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here as well. The screen is huge. It's definitely the largest in its class, which I also really appreciate. As we get back up onto the open road here, we can really accelerate back up to the speed limit. Saying you were in an overtaking type scenario, that is absolutely fantastic as well. This thing definitely handles the best, and the floor mounted pedal makes you feel extremely connected to the road in this car. Like, I feel like I'm driving my own car. And this being my first ever time driving a Mercedes-Benz, I am genuinely impressed with the road manners of this car. Definitely the best handling in its class, definitely the best steering, and that pedal feel is also fantastic too. The split 3-spoke steering wheel is pretty nice. I like the navigation. It's pretty easy to get through your modes on the screen on the fly because you have that little notch there. So the touch buttons are actually pretty nice on this. I'm not gonna lie, they work extremely well because they actually have a little bit of a clicky feel to them as well. So they're not as bad as you would think. Now getting on this off ramp here, we can also test out the steering some more. The steering feels very nimble. This is definitely the best steering I've seen in a German compact sedan. As we get to this stoplight here, we can fully test the true potential of the brakes because we got those 4-piston disc brakes. Yeah, no problems at all. And the nice thing too is it actually holds your gear for a little bit higher so you have another opportunity to pass, which is definitely nice, and that allowed us to get some of that really good acceleration before. The throttle response is actually fantastic. It's almost linear. Like, the amount of pressure you put with your foot, it like responds instantly, and I really like that. That's definitely unique to this class, and especially, again, the floor-mounted pedal is going to be that big selling point of this car. The steering feel is the sportiest in its class, but at the same time, you get the most luxurious touches and finishes in this vehicle. And overall, it is a really nice place to spend time, and I'm genuinely impressed with this vehicle. At $55,000, I think this vehicle is very competitive in the segment, especially with that color-changing ambient lighting. On the equivalent A4, you have to upgrade to the Prestige trim to get something even close to that, which is also one of the reasons why you should consider getting this. What's really nice about that too is the ambient lighting is also available on the lower trim levels, which is also really impressive. So let's go ahead and get back to the dealership, where we will come to a final verdict on this 2023 Mercedes-Benz C300 with the 4MATIC all-wheel drive and that 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Overall, a great package for the money. The 2023 Mercedes-Benz C300 is a great vehicle for the price point. At $55,000, it's priced competitively against the A4 and the 3 Series, and even the Genesis G70. So with that in mind, this vehicle drives better than most of its competitors. That 9-speed automatic is super smooth, the steering feels great, and this car is even super configurable. It's like a smartphone, really. So with that in mind, with its comfort, its high-tech safety features, I highly recommend the 2023 Mercedes C300 4MATIC as your next sports sedan. So this has been another Trisportation video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and of course, drive safe.